Hey there, Dev Squad, Manuel here. Right now, we pretty much have our base unwrapped, and I'm just going to, as you can see, I like to use this gizmo. This is just move, this is just rotate, and this is just scale. I like to use this gizmo because it contains all of these and into one single gizmo. So we have rotation over here in the middle, we have scaling over here, and we have our move gizmo. So if you are in the UV editor, just select this one and it'll make your life a lot easier. Okay, so now that we pretty much unwrapped this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell the program to showcase a checker pattern texture. You're going to see that checker pattern. That's what you saw on the thumbnail and the intro of this video. This is this same checker pattern right here, and sometimes you got to go through the texture first and then the checker pattern. So it's pretty much the same pattern that we have right here, and as you can see, it's a little bit skewed, it's a little bit distorted, and this is the reason why I like to activate this checker pattern on my textures, because this is what's going to tell me if the texture that's on it's going to be distorted or not. Right now, we are seeing over here that there's going to be a little bit of distortion around my model. So what I need to do is, I'm going to go and select by element. So I just one click and selects the whole thing. And now I need to use another tool that it would be very common on any program. As far as I know, most programs have this tool, which is called Relax. And this is an automated tool. It doesn't work on every single time, but I just wanted to show it to you. I use it a lot, and it will help us to get rid of that distortion. So I'm just going to click Start Relax. And as you can see, it does some funky stuff on these polygons, but it got rid of the distortion that we were having over here. All right. So for this part right here that is doing something funky, whenever this is my indicator to make sure that I unwrap things manually. So whenever I do an unwrap and I do use my Relax tool and it does this, it means that I should be unwrapping things a little bit more manually. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to break down this piece from the main UV. So let's just get going with that. I'm actually going to put this aside for a second so we can see what we're doing, and I'm going to do a ring selection just like when we were modeling. Hold shift, click next, and that will create a ring selection. And I'm just going to grow my selection 1 and 2 times, and I'm going to use quick planar. Okay, so that separated my two structures. Now I'm going to get these apart from each other, and we're going to use the Relax tool again. So I'm going to go here, Tools, Relax, and we're going to relax this part. Okay, make sure that everything is nice and neat. As you can see, everything is absolutely neat now. And we're going to grab the bottom. You can see the bottom has some distortion. We're going to grab this and we're going to relax it. And as you can see, that changed the shape of it. And that also changed the shape of our squares here. However, you're going to see that we no longer have this nice squares going up and down, but we have squares looking oblique this way, and that may freak you out a little bit, but the thing is, because the way this piece was modeled, it will not be completely straight, because we could make it straight, but if we do, then we will subject the UVs to even more distortion than what it is. So the tool that you saw me using was, as the name implies, straighten selection. So it's going to make your UVs completely straight, and if we actually make them straight, this is not going to solve our problem. So I'm just going to undo that, and I'm just going to relax it. Okay, so when you're unwrapping, it's a matter of compromise. Sometimes you'll get some very neat textures like this one, and we can even apply a little bit more relax here. Alright, or you may just get something like this, which is rounded because of the way it was modeled, and it will give you some oblique checker pattern, which again is totally fine. Now let's continue with the unwrapping of the base. And one thing that we could do is we could cut this in even more pieces to give us some more space and all that. The thing is, if we keep cutting it, we're gonna have some more seams, and the more seams we have, the harder it will be for our textures to look good, because when our textures cross that many seams, so imagine we have this seam right here, and we would have another seam right here, so this would be two seams that our textures will be crossing, and there are certain ways to get around that, but let's make not too many cuts just to make our lives easier. So even though this checker pattern is not perfect, it's very good for what we need right now. So let me just relax it one more time. Okay, and one of the things I like to make sure is that there is no overlapping. There is a little bit of overlapping here, as you can see. The top part is actually going into the bottom part, and this will create some distortion for our texture. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get out, I'm going to turn off element mode, and I'm just going to select those vertices that are being crossed over, if you will. So from what I see over here, it looks fine. In here it looks okay, so I may just have to do it right here on this side. Alright, so let's just, actually because it's just these two vertices, I'm going to move them manually. There you go. And I usually do that after my relax, because if you relax, you are going to lose any manual unwrapping that you've done before. So that is why automated methods are awesome, and sometimes they work great, but they don't work the best on every single case. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to expand this so we can check out if there's any more overlapping. Some other places there is overlapping right here. Okay, and again, it's just making sure that we can avoid those distortions that will occur if we have overlapping UVs. Making sure that everything is looking fine. Alright, we are good here. Now we have to do something about this ring. Now this ring belongs on this part, and because it's already being cut here, we can actually unfold it very easily. So I'm going to put my editor a little bit smaller so we can see over here what's going on. And I'm just going to select the whole ring, and I'm going to press quick peel, which is right here. And as you can see, that got peeled into one single strip that we can just make vertical, and it's just one single strip. Actually, I'm going to see vertical or horizontal. Sometimes I have a hard time deciding, but right now we pretty much have our whole object unwrapped, and there are a couple of places like around here which it may be a little bit crammed up, but again, I don't want to make too many cuts because that's just going to prevent my textures from being well defined. But now that I see it, I think we can make just one more cut over here. So I'm just going to, because this is a very sharp angle, when we have very sharp angles, we can get away with some seams around here. So I'm just going to convert that into a seam right there, just like I did over here. And what I'm going to do is we're going to take this piece away. I'm just going to make that selection, and because we already have the cut here, if we press quick peel, it's going to open it into a strip, and we just relax it so it's a straighter sort of strip. Alright, it's not completely straight because, again, if I were to make it completely straight, then you'll see some horrible distortion. So we can get it as straight as we can, and then we can finish our unwrap. You're pretty much finished unwrapping these. Now we are finished unwrap this, and what we're going to do is we need to make everything into the 0 to 1 space. And now we come into another concept that I wanted to discuss, which is the concept of textual density. So right now, every single piece, and this is a very good example of textual density by having our checker pattern map, every single piece has different textual density. This means that when we add the texture to our whole mesh, this part, it's going to look lower resolution than this part, than the part over here, so on and so forth. This is terrible when we are doing one asset. You can have different textual densities when you have kind of like a character and you have places that are more important than others. But again, that's a little bit more of an advanced concept. So for now, and for this being one single prop, we need to keep everything to one textual density. So what I'm going to do in order to make sure that we have one textual density across the board, I'm going to press this button right here, which is called Pack Custom. And what it's going to do is it's going to bring all my UVs into my 0 to 1 space, and it's going to make sure they all have the same textual density. And again, textual density has to do with resolution. If your resolution from here is different than your resolution over here, that's going to give you some horrible textures. So please look at this and you'll see what's going on over here. I'm just going to select everything and I'm going to press Pack Custom. And you see now that everything has the same textual density. If I undo it, you're going to see that these squares are much smaller than these squares. But when I press Pack Custom, everything is at the same size, which is very important when you are texturing one single mesh. Alright, Death Squad, that was the end of this video. In the next video, we're going to talk about unwrapping the top of our lamp, which is actually our main piece. Stay creative, and I'll see you in the next video.
This video was made possible by my supporters on Patreon. If you want more videos like this, check out my Patreon page using the link in the description. To stay up to date on new releases, make sure you follow us on social media.